I'm going negative on purpose today because I keep on seeing buyers in Toronto step into the same traps, not because they rush, not because they were careless, because they didn't fully understand what they were actually buying. And the scary part, most of these houses look completely normal. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the type of houses you should never buy in Toronto, or at the very least, never buy without knowing exactly what you're taking on. And stay until the end because the last few mistakes don't hurt right away. They hurt years later when you try to renovate, insure, or sell. This isn't a fear video. None of the houses I'm about to talk about are automatically bad. But in Toronto, certain houses carry quiet risk. The kind that doesn't show up on closing day. It shows up much later when you're trying to insure the home, when you try to renovate, or when you go to sell and buyers hesitate. And most buyers don't lose money because they paid a little too much. They lose money because they didn't understand the trade-off they were agreeing to. So here's the rule I want you to keep in mind for this entire video. If you can't clearly explain why a house is priced the way it is, don't fall in love yet. In Toronto, every deal is either a real opportunity or a hidden issue being passed on to the next buyer. And the difference is clarity. Toronto housing is different. You're not just buying square footage, you're buying age, renovation history, infrastructure, and the surrounding environment. And the mistake buyers make is assuming every house should be judged the same way. It shouldn't. So let's go through the list. Here are the houses buyers regret quietly. House number 1. These are houses with renovations that don't have a clear story. Talking about major renovations, basements, layout changes, additions. They all come with responsibility. If the explanation feels vague, rushed, or defensive, you're buying uncertainty. A home inspection is important. You should absolutely get one. But inspections are not 100% guarantee. Inspectors can't see behind every wall. So inspection plus understanding the renovation history is what protects you. But sometimes some of these renovations were done like 100 years ago or 50 years ago, and it's up to what your risk tolerance is. House number 2, these are foundation issues, and needs nuances in Toronto. Toronto has a lot of older homes and century homes. Some uneven floors are completely normal in many older homes. Floors even slope slightly. Joists weren't built to modern tolerances. That's one thing. And basement concrete wasn't poured perfectly level either. So that alone is not a problem. What matters is whether the issue is historic or active. You should slow down if you see long horizontal cracks, stair step cracking, and cracks that look like they're pushing. I had to talk one of my clients out of a purchase recently because that was what happened with the side of the house. Sudden changes instead of long-standing ones. History is different than movement because some houses are just, that's the way they look and they're fine. But again, get a professional opinion on that. Number 3 is what I call Frankenstein updates. These are houses where renovations look finished, but nothing quite matches. You'll see things like one updated bathroom and the other 2 untouched, new floors on the main level, oak floors upstairs, modern kitchen tied into outdated plumbing, new lighting paired with an old electrical panel. Everything technically works, but it's been stitched together to save money. And here's why this matters in Toronto. When updates are done in pieces over time, it becomes very hard to know what systems were actually upgraded and what was left behind and what will need to be done later. So these homes aren't automatically bad, but they're often optimized for short-term appearance, not long-term ownership. The risk isn't that something breaks right away. The risk is when you renovate properly, you have to undo half the work before doing it right. Number 4 are houses with tenants when your plan is to live there. This is one of the biggest mistakes buyers make. If a tenant is supposed to leave, you want that documented properly. That usually means a signed N11 or N12 form. There's clear dates on this and no assumptions. You also want buffer. So your closing date should be weeks after the tenant is scheduled to leave, not the same day. And once the tenants are gone, you can do a buyer visit before closing. Always. This isn't about trust. It's about control. Number 5 is older wiring. Very common in Toronto. Not automatically a deal breaker, but older wiring affects insurance, flexibility, and future renovation. Here's the good news. It's usually fixable. On average, updating older wiring can cost anywhere $20,000 or even more, depending on the house. The mistake isn't the wiring. The mistake is not planning for it. Because sometimes you have to dig some holes into your walls and trenches. I had to do that with one of my older houses. Here's number 6. Century homes treated like a normal purchase. Toronto has a lot of older homes with real character, but preserving the character often means that some things can't be modernized the way they can be in newer homes. That might mean layout limitation, ceiling height constraints, finishes that don't fit modern expectation. A century home isn't one renovation, it's a long-term relationship. And some of these century homes have heritage designation as well, meaning that you can't even change the outside. So if this video is helping you think more clearly about buying a house in Toronto, hit like and subscribe for videos just like this. And I talk about the market as well, about timing and such. So let's get back to the houses. Number 7, newer homes people assume don't need inspections. They do, always. Build quality varies, even in new construction. A good inspection can still catch rushed workmanship, incomplete finishing, things that should have been addressed. New doesn't mean flawless. Number 8 is water. Water always wins. If water flows towards a house, pools near the foundation, or isn't directed away properly, that becomes your problem. These issues rarely show up immediately. They show up slowly in an expensive way. Number 9 is limited electrical service. Many older Toronto homes weren't built for modern electrical demand. So if you plan to renovate, you likely need an electrical service upgrade. That means coordinating with Toronto Hydro, getting a new circuit breaker panel. It's totally doable, but it's not instant and it's definitely not cheap. Number 10 is not looking at what surrounds a house. This is easier to check than ever. With tools like Google Maps and Street View, you can see what's next door, what's behind the house, what's across the street, what's a few streets over. And you ask yourself, what might affect noise? How about traffic? How about long-term enjoyment? These things matter more than buyers realize. Number 11, these are called linked houses. They look detached, but they aren't fully independent. And some buyers don't care and others do. And that affects resale demand. Repairs can also become more complicated when a neighbor is structurally connected. So that's one thing to think about. Number 12 is basement units, like a basement apartment. Basement units can be incredibly useful. And when you're looking in the basement, uneven basement floors alone aren't a structural issue. Often the concrete just wasn't poured perfectly, so you have uneven ground in the basement. But safety and compliance matter though. If something wasn't built properly, that responsibility transfers to you. So it looks nice. It's not the same as being built right. But this matters more if you think about renting out the unit. If you're just using it for in-laws or friends when they come over, not a problem. So the clarity rule that protects buyers. So let's bring this together. These aren't never buy houses. They're never buy without understanding the trade-off houses. And here's the rule that protects buyers long-term. If a house has a hidden risk, you either price it in or you walk. You don't hope, you don't assume. You understand or you move on. And here's the simple checklist you can screenshot. Do I understand the renovation history? Do I understand foundation history versus movement? Do I understand wiring and service limitations? Do I understand water flow? Do I understand water flow around the house? Do I understand what surrounds the property? Will the next buyer hesitate to buy this home? Think about resale. If you can't answer those clearly, that's not fear. That's just information. You have a gap. In Toronto, the best houses isn't the cheapest one. It's the one that doesn't surprise you later. And check out this video about whether you should buy in Toronto this year.